Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to another video. The end of season content continues here as we talk about my personal Premier League team of the season. I'm going to be choosing a 4-3-3 for this side, so don't expect anybody to be kind of shoehorned into position, shoehorned out of position. There may be some really big names that I might miss out, but I'll go through each of my team and maybe some honourable mentions along the way. But before we go any further in discussing all of that, I would like to remind you, please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always have to be greatly appreciated. And I also encourage you to get involved yourself. Who is your personal team of the season? Do you agree with mine? Do you think mine should be different in some ways? I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on that particular subject down below in the comments section. I'm sure it'll make it interesting and great reading. But for now, let's get on with the video. Starting off in goal, look, I'm going to say this right now. I could easily go for the man who got the Golden Glove this season in David De Gea. David De Gea kept the most clean sheets. Statistically wise, it would make sense for me to go for him. There's also Nick Pope, who I think has been great all season. But I'm going to have to give it to Alisson Becker. And the reason I give it to Alisson Becker is because he came close as well to the Golden Glove. He did brilliantly well all season. In my opinion, he's been Liverpool's most consistent player. He's been Liverpool's standout player all season. He did not deserve what happened to Liverpool this season. And I think overall, in terms of every other goalkeeper in the Premier League, I think he's been the best. He's pulled off some incredible saves. He's made the minimal amount of mistakes, I believe, in my opinion, for the Reds, for goalkeepers in this division. So in my opinion, Alisson Becker deserves to be in there. I think he's been absolutely fantastic all season. Like I said, I think there is a case for Nick Pope. I think Ramsdale's been okay. Don't agree with Ederson whatsoever, but that is the case. And obviously, if you're looking statistical-wise, David De Gea did pick up the Golden Glove. But at the same time, I think he's made a lot more mistakes than what Alisson has. So, in my opinion, Alisson Becker deserves to be the goalkeeper, the player of the season. Right back got Kieran Trippier. Trippier, of course, was nominated as one of the contenders for Player of the Season, and rightfully so. He's been brilliant for Newcastle this season. He's really helped in their defensive improvement. Newcastle have one of the better defensive records in the Premier League, and I think Trippier has obviously contributed to that, as well as obviously contributing to several assists across this season. I think he's been very consistent. I think he's helped Newcastle a lot. There were a lot of question marks when he first signed for the Magpies as to how he would adapt to the Eddie Howe system and how he would adapt back to the Premier League after obviously spending a year in Spain. He's done brilliant. He's done brilliant this season, and I think he's well worthy of being the right back for this team of the season. Centre backs, I've gone with Sven Botman of Newcastle and William Saliba of Arsenal. Now, again, there are some honourable mentions in this list. Ruben Diaz. It was difficult to leave out Ruben Diaz, but I do think I have good reason as to why I picked these two over him. Lisandro Martinez, I think, has been brilliant as well, but again, I think injury towards the end of the campaign kind of hindered him a little bit, and I know that Saliba's obviously been injured, but I think you saw a lot more of an impact of when Arsenal lost Saliba to the club than it would when he was with the club. So, in my opinion, Saliba's been an incredible and important part of Arsenal's season, and like I said, I think obviously you can't put it down to just one player, but I think that they clearly got a bit soft in that centre-back area when Saliba was missing, when in comparison to when he was there. So I think Saliba was a massive and crucial part to Arsenal, and especially because there was a lot of question marks going into the season as to how Saliba would step up this season. No one really had saw him in the Premier League. He'd obviously been on loan in previous years, and then this season it was kind of like, here you go and prove to us why Arsenal spent so much money on you, why Arsenal put so much trust and faith in you. And to be fair to him, he was brilliant throughout the majority of this season until obviously his injury towards the end. I think he was very consistent, very strong, and obviously defensively sound. And I think that will only continue to get better with age. And Botman, I think, is a little bit the same. Very consistent, very strong, and obviously still young enough to a point where he can continue to get better with age. And I think he's not... It's his debut season in the Premier League. 35 million Newcastle spent on him. 35 million, in my opinion, well spent. I think he's been excellent throughout the majority of this season. One of the signings of the season that I think is going a little bit under the radar by a lot of people. I think he's been one of the best defenders in the division this season. I think he's been excellent. I think he's been solid. I think he's been very, very consistent throughout the entirety of the campaign. Gone a little bit under the radar, but I don't think he'll mind that too much. And I think he's been a very big contributing factor, again, like Kieran Trippier, as to why Newcastle have had such a solid and such a sound defensive record throughout the majority of this season. Like I say, I can look at other names out there, but in my opinion, Botman and Saliba deserve to be the centre-backs in my team of the season. My left back was a bit of a difficult choice between two players in particular. One was Newcastle's Dan Burn, who I think has been excellent all season. Very rarely put a foot wrong, and I think deserves special recognition for how well he has done in modifying and changing his position from a natural centre-back to that left-back role. I think he's done excellent. Another one I did consider was Nathan Ake, but I think Ake, I think there were a few injury issues, particularly towards the end of the season, and I think he obviously played a bit more in centre-back than left-back, or at least a more left-sided centre-back, given obviously City's modification. So I didn't really think it would be right, but I still think Ake has been excellent all season, and I still think Ake has been, again, another defensively solid addition or acquisition or asset to that Man City defence. But the player I did land on was Brighton's Estupiñán. Brilliant all season. Consistent all season. Excellent all season. Part of the reason I believe why Brighton have done so well. Having stepped in the shoes of Marc Cucurella from last season, I think he's been defensively solid, consistent, amazing. 1 goal and 6 assists this season for Brighton is nothing to be ashamed of. It's been brilliant throughout the season. Defensively solid, attacking wise, threatening. A good all-round fullback that, in my opinion, deserves some special recognition and some praise for this campaign ahead of the usual kind of suspects that we normally have in this position that have kind of underperformed this season. Dan Burn and Nathan Ake, like I say, deserve some recognition here, but I'm going to go with Brighton's Estupiñán. Now we move on to our midfielders. I'm going with a DM for this one. It was a toss-up between Rodri and Casemiro, and I think I'm going to have to lean more towards the Manchester City man rather than the Man United man, because in 36 appearances, Rodri has been ever consistent, very rarely put a foot wrong, and of course has had to balance playing in the Champions League, the FA Cup, as well as the Premier League, and has been ever so consistent in all of those competitions as well. Rodri is obviously a big part of this Man City side. Most touches than anybody else, is central to Pep Guardiola's system, central to Pep Guardiola and the way that he plays in that kind of role, and has obviously continued to improve his game. He scores important goals as well. And again, I'm not saying Casemiro doesn't. Casemiro does and has done so much so this season and has been excellent for Manchester United this season. He's even popped up with a few goals himself. But given the toss-up of the two, I'm leaning more towards a player that has done it in the bigger competitions, or be it considered, and also done it ever so consistently. Again, I don't think there is a right or wrong answer to this one. I think both have been excellent, but I am leaning more towards Rodri than Casemiro, and I think Rodri deserves special credit, special praise for this. Again, I did question Rodri when he first came to this Man City side. I didn't know what he offered, I didn't know what he brought, but after getting used to the system, getting used to what Guardiola wants from him, you can start to see how important he is to this City squad and how incredible he is in the role that he plays. And I think that Rodri, for me, has been ever so consistent this season, to the point where he deserves to be in the team of the season. Next up, another Man City midfielder makes it. It's Kevin De Bruyne, the player who has assisted most times in the division this season. He's got 16 assists and 7 goals across this campaign. Big goals at that, big assists at that. And he doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon, does he? Maybe like a year older, but he's still going strong, and he's still a very important midfielder. Some of the passes he plays, some of the performances he puts in have been incredible to watch across the season. Again, it's a no-brainer for me, this one. Kevin De Bruyne deserves to be in the team of the season. I don't think a lot of midfielders can compare to him in this campaign. Rounding off the midfield, we have Arsenal's Martin Odegaard. 15 goals and 7 assists this season. What more do I need to say? 15 goals is incredible for a midfielder as it is. And it's brilliant to see that Odegaard has stepped up and continued to perform this season in this Arsenal squad. And like I say, he stepped up with some really big and important goals. A leader on the pitch. He's done brilliantly well for Arsenal to try and get them to where they are right now. Obviously, it didn't end the season in the best way for Arsenal or for him. But you could tell his leadership and everything else was on show and for all to see throughout the majority of this season when Arsenal really needed it most in some very tough games that they had for them. Odegaard was one of the few players to really step up, show his leadership, show his ability, his talent, his quality, and of course it shined through with the goals and the assists that he provided for the club. In my opinion, a rightful member in this year's team of the season. Moving on to the attackers, right wing, Mohamed Salah. Now I know a lot has been made of Bukayo Saka and he deserves special recognition and special praise for how well he has improved this season. But don't take it away from Mohamed Salah just because he's been at an underperforming Liverpool side. Saka has been brilliant. But I think the way that he is getting recognition over Salah is simply because of the team rather than the player. Arsenal achieving more than achieving higher status in the Premier League table than Liverpool is why Saka's getting the headlines, is why Saka's getting the praise. Don't deteriorate it away from Salah, who still managed to achieve 19 goals and 12 assists this season. Incredible numbers for a Liverpool side that were underperforming and performing below par for the majority of this campaign. He has done brilliantly well to achieve those numbers. Saka's been excellent. Saka's been great. Saka's improved a hell of a lot and deserves everything that he was getting this season in terms of praise and recognition and even a new contract. But Salah is still the best player in that position on form, on reliance, everything else along those lines. Salah, for me, in terms of output, outweighs what Saka's done. It's unfortunate, I get it, but it's just what I believe in my opinion. Salah over Saka, in my opinion, in this side. Left wing, for me, it was a toss-up between Arsenal's Gabriel Martinelli and Manchester United's Marcus Rashford. I'm going to lean more towards Rashford, simply for the reason that he got a couple more goals than what Martinelli did in, I think, 1 or 2 less appearances. Rashford scored 17 goals and assisted 5 times across this season. He had a massive purple patch after the World Cup in which he was unbelievable. He was scoring clutch goals for Manchester United. He was winning games pretty much on his own. And he was absolutely phenomenal for that period of time. He dropped off a little bit towards the end of the season. I think he picked up a bit of an injury towards the end and it slowed down his form. But that isn't... But his goals and obviously the amount of points that he basically won for United during that time, during the middle of the season, was undoubtedly incredible, phenomenal, and deserves special recognition in itself. Unfortunate for Martinelli, because he's been brilliant all season, and I think if he hadn't have dropped off a little bit towards the end, maybe we could be talking about Martinelli rather than Rashford. It was a close call, but I think Rashford just pips into the post in terms of a left wing spot in this team. And finally, striker. There's only one winner in my opinion, Erling Haaland. Now I will say special recognition goes to one Harry Kane because he's been phenomenal. Kane's been phenomenal. Let's put it that way. Like 30 goals this season and no one's talking about it is pretty incredible. Like, fair play to Harry Kane. 30 goals this season is by no means an easy feat to get to, but he managed to achieve it, and he's getting obviously ever closer to breaking that all-time Premier League goal-scoring record. He has been excellent all season. but there's just been a striker that is better than him. Like, Erling Haaland in his debut season in the Premier League has been outstanding. 36 goals this season. He's already won the Premier League title. He's on the verge of possibly winning the FA Cup. And he's possibly on the verge of winning the Champions League as well. All within his first season in Manchester City, in England's top flight division. He's on the verge of winning the treble. He's already a Premier League champion. He's on the verge of winning a treble. He has done absolutely incredible in spearheading this this Man City attack this season. And he's only going to get better. That's the scary part about Erling Haaland. The overall trajectory is he's going to get better. When he has a better understanding of his role, an even more better understanding of his role than what he is doing right now, when he has a better understanding of his teammates, when he has a better understanding of how this Pep Guardiola side works around him, when he understands more where to be at certain times with who's got the ball, whether to drop deep, go long, go in behind, go on the last man, he is going to get even better, even scarier, and he's probably going to score more goals. Let's face it, it's not all been perfect for Haaland. As brilliant as the first season it has been, he could have even had more goals. He missed some good chances this season, and I think he's even missed a penalty hit once, maybe, I think, if recollection serves me correctly. He could have had even more goals this season. So imagine that Haaland grown, evolved, even better, more understanding next season with this City side that's going to obviously grow and improve and strengthen itself. It's a scary concept to have, that this Haaland guy can reach all new levels. That's scary. That's going to be impressive, and defenses are going to have to find some way of trying to stop him, and that's easier said than done. Like I say, special recognition to Harry Kane. He's been brilliant all season in an underperforming Tottenham side. Stood out head and shoulders above the rest, and above the rest of the strikers as well, because of the amount of goals he scored. But Haaland, for me, 36 goals this season, broken numerous goal scoring records. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. Who makes your team of the season? Do you agree with mine? Do you have any modifications to make? Do you have any debates and things to have? Anything along those lines, your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, will make for interesting and great reading down below in the comment section, I'm sure. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always absolutely greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. And I'll see you all again soon in another video.